Your company, and a wave to everybody looking in now and watching on Facebook and YouTube. Róisín, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Father. Good morning, all.
Great, nice to have you with us, and indeed thanks for being part of Radio Maria here today. And by all means, we always do like to hear from you, so we'll do that, get that out of the way straight away, Róisín, if we may.
You can telephone at 014123456. Or then again, if you're outside of Ireland, it's plus 353 1412 3456. And then again, if you want to text or WhatsApp, it's 089 467 2000. Outside of Ireland again, plus 353 89 467 2000. And if you would like to write to us, you can write to Radio Maria Ireland, St Anthony's Business Park, Ballymount Road, Dublin 22. Or you can email info@radiomaria.ie.
Very good. I hope that wasn't too much to take in one fell swoop, but we'll repeat them again so that you'll pick them up. In fact, many of you, I'm sure, know them all off by heart.
I'd say so, Father.
At this stage. So now, if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, of course, do like, share, follow and subscribe. Sharing is caring. So sharing apparently is the best way to get the word out. But if you'd like to drop a comment right there, and thanks for all the lovely comments that do come in there, looking back even on some of yesterday's, just greetings from those of you who watch in. It's nice to get a little thumbs up or a little smiley face or just a few words of welcome there as well. And I know we have one or two listeners, I think, in the Philippines.
Wow.
And in the United States. So other ends of the clock. Either you should be in bed or you should be, I don't know, at work, or I don't know how it works, but anyway. And we had a nice message actually from a lady. I was just going through some of the emails, trying to catch up, having been away, of course, for a bit, from a listener in Peru who wants to volunteer and join us for prayer.
Wonderful.
But I was just checking the time difference again. There's about 6 hours in the time difference with Peru, so I don't know how that's going to work. They're 6 hours behind. So at best it might be the 5:30 rosary if they want to pray along the rosary with us. But you just never know who'd be listening in or who'd be watching. Or
gosh, that's fantastic,
all
Father.
over the world.
Yeah, spreading around the world.
Amazing. Thanks be to God. So now Raffaele, I think, enjoyed his visit the last few days, Róisín.
Oh, he's a wonderful man, my goodness, and the great work he's doing, Father, yes.
I can't imagine the headaches that he wakes up with every morning. It's enough to have one radio.
God bless him. He really is. He's fantastic, and he's so happy.
Yes, he has the right personality, I think, for the task. You need to be kind of well disposed. At the same time, he's able to
get
on with the business.
Yes, he's typing away like that so fast. He's fantastic.
He has it all, and he's been 20 years on the go, and I suppose started, I think, as a volunteer for Radio Maria in Italy, and then finally got a job, I suppose, and then when the world family of Radio Maria beckoned, his expertise, they brought him on board. So he's the continental representative for Europe, would be his title.
Right.
And 31 radio stations, he says, and he also oversees Radio Maria in Nazareth, in Israel, which is a lovely project, I'm sure, and great to visit there. And in Armenia, I think is the other one that he visits. So extraordinary. And that's just one section of Radio Maria, as we know. Right. So anyway, great to have him here. He loves coming to Ireland. I think he likes his little pint of Guinness or whatever he'd be having himself. And
I thought you were going to say my scones, Father.
Well, your scones are a given too. And I believe he took some of your scones back to Italy with him.
He did. He loved them every day when he was here. He'd have scones. He loved them, and then he said, "Could I take some back home now to Italy with me?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." Yes.
And they don't have anything like scones in Italy.
Yes.
I think it's sort of a croissant might be the nearest thing they might have, even if they have that, because breakfast is just what do they call that tiny espresso coffee, little shot of coffee that probably goes to your brain and fries it. So they don't do the kind of breakfast that we would normally do here. Anyway, it's good to see him and good to get updated, and indeed he's very helpful. The project, I suppose, of Radio Maria is just growing all the time, and they have all the different departments now. It's quite impressive. Even since I've joined, like the last 5 years, each of the different departments within the World Family, they have help for social media, for the apps and the website is another one. The use of our database for fundraising and contacting customer relations, they call it, CRM, Customer Relations and Management. So they have all the technology at their fingertips for all of that, and so they have different departments that oversee the activity of all the radio stations in each of these different fields.
Fantastic,
So there's great help for us. I mean, we just couldn't do that. We wouldn't have the expertise to manage that at all. So, anyways, it's all good. It's all good. And he brought us a couple of little gifts, Róisín. If you saw the rosary, he brought it to us.
I did, and it is beautiful, Father.
I'll show it to the camera there. It's a white rosary, and each of the Our Father beads, it's white circular beads there. Each of the Our Father beads has JMJ Lisboa 2023 written on it. And JMJ, I suppose, is World Youth Day, whatever that is in Portuguese.
Yes.
I have no idea. I suppose actually GMG is on here as well. JMJ. Oh, well, I guess it's the different languages.
Different languages,
WY,
yeah, WY, yes, it probably is worldwide, Father, you know.
World Youth Day.
Yes, yes.
Anyways, it's just a rosary suitable for young people, quite durable and quite sturdy. In a nice little presentation box, I think everybody's going to get one of these. And it says third show there, which I presume is at the 30th, maybe, World Youth Day, maybe not. I'm not sure. At any rate, there's a little booklet inside as well. I show that to the camera too, with meditations in for the rosary to help the young people learn the mysteries and to join in and pray them. And I suppose the prayers as well that they can join in to help them explain the prayers. So that's just a nice, simple little resource for the young people as they're going off the World Youth Day.
Yes,
so we might well have a representation there next year. I don't know what date it is next year in Portugal. And Radio Maria, of course, has established in Lisbon, and they have a studio now inaugurated in Fatima as well.
That's beautiful.
Which is great to have a presence at an international Marian shrine. And that would be our hope certainly here, to establish ourselves in Knock with God's help, to be a presence there to support our international Eucharistic and Marian shrine, and to be able to interact with the many pilgrims who come there and support their life of faith by being a presence there. So with God's help, that will come to pass in time. But a lovely visitor this morning, Greta Carr Cultivisi. She's living in Westport.
Yes.
And she tells me that she broadcasts a little Lectio Divina on the parish network, I guess. I don't know if it's online. That she does a little group there in Westport, but she does it through Knock again. There's some connection with Knock at any rate, which is good. So Greta hopefully will come on air with me. I just got her details there next week, and we'll get a little update and see what is she doing and if we can connect in with her.
She's a lovely lady. She really is.
Indeed.
And she was saying that even though she was born in England, her mum and dad are Irish from around the country, different parts of the country, you know, and now she's living in Westport, you know. So
great, fantastic, and marvellous. I'm delighted that she's connecting with us.
She's fully Irish.
She's fully Irish, yes. Sometimes they call it a plastic paddy. You know, if your parents, if you were born in another country, your parents were. I think I got a bit of that myself, being kind of an import into England when I was working there. It's kind of a plastic paddy. I don't know. Anyway, we're good at taking the Michael out of ourselves. But we're delighted to welcome Greta into Chapel there. I'm sure she's very involved. We'll get some of her story too, please God, as well. No, so yesterday, Róisín, we were just chatting through, I can't remember exactly how the conversation started, but it was in relation to reverence towards the Blessed Sacrament. And we were going in depth on that a little bit. And yesterday I was just clarifying, I hope, the role of the lay minister of Holy Communion as an extraordinary minister, whereas the priest, the deacon, the priest and the bishop are the ordinary ministers of the Eucharist. And that the roles are very important to be clearly defined so that there isn't any confusion with who, let's say, has the ordained authority, let's say, to do as the church, in service of the church and the liturgy. And there can be sort of crossover, and it can be quite confusing, where it seems as if extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion are behaving as if they are ordinary ministers of the Eucharist.
Oh, yes, yes.
So there's a subtle distinction there. And the key thing all the time is not about one is any greater than the other. It's about serving this great mystery of the real presence of Christ in the Holy Eucharist. And a number of listeners have been in touch, echoing really this same conversation, lamenting the lack of reverence at times towards Jesus and the Blessed Sacrament. And my small response, for what it's worth, is that there's a huge responsibility on priests to explain and help people understand gently, but again clearly, the need for extreme reverence towards the Blessed Sacrament, and great care for the custody of the Blessed Sacrament, and not to confuse the roles, say, of the priest versus the lay person. And that, you know, having the privilege of being a minister of the Blessed Sacrament, as an ordinary minister, as a priest, a bishop, or a deacon, or as an extraordinary minister, as a lay person, it's a privilege that's granted, and it's a role of service and subordination to the reality of Christ really present. And sadly, I mentioned, and I see it too often, again, and probably, you know, charitably, I have to say, perhaps out of just ignorance, not in the offensive sense, but just lack of awareness or knowledge, or, you know, that there is sometimes a disregard in the way that people receive the Holy Eucharist. You know, that they receive it sort of casually and might close their hand and walk away. And then stories of those who have found sacred hosts in the church cleaners and that.
Oh my goodness.
And these sort of things happen.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that, Father, now.
Well, they do, and they're sadly not so uncommon. They should never happen, of course.
Oh, no.
And I find it very difficult as a priest, certainly, that I'm not there as a policeman to kind of follow everybody up who receives Holy Communion.
But maybe they might have had an accident or something. Would that be it, Father?
But the obvious thing to do then is to tell the priest and say, look, I dropped the sacred host, and please come and you know, take it back to the tabernacle and allow it to be dissolved and to be the proper custody of the Blessed Sacrament. And it's one of the dangers with lay ministers of Holy Communion, again, that how are they to control or command the situation if somebody abuses the Blessed Sacrament and just closes their hand and walks away?
Oh yeah, that's
what
right,
do you
Father.
do?
Yes.
Or people who come and you know they haven't received Holy Communion, perhaps since their first communion, or for who knows how long, and instead of putting their hand out reverently with their other hand underneath, and the hand sort of flat and ready to receive the Lord, and elevated with the, I mentioned the bow or reverence before receiving Holy Communion as well, or a genuflection or kneeling, whatever is possible at the time, some act of reverence, but they come up instead with their two fingers on their hand, kind of as if they want to grab and take it that way. That happens, and again, not in, you know, it does happen, and again, it's an indication to me that this person has no idea what they're receiving or how they ought to receive. And I throw the blame back in the direction of the priests who should be explaining these things.
Exactly, yes.
And what I've suggested is that priests should on a regular basis explain from the altar briefly how to reverently come and receive the Blessed Sacrament and to consume the Blessed Sacrament there and then at the altar. Step to the side if necessary, if you feel you're holding up the queue. Just step to the side and simply reverently receive the Blessed Sacrament before you leave the altar or the sanctuary area. But if you're a lay minister and you're halfway down the church or you're down the back of the church, how can that be catered for? So there's an argument and a strong point to be made for, you know, only having people receive at the altar so that there's a bit more control over the situation.
Yes.
Because too often if you're distributing Holy Communion near an exit, they're receiving and they're gone straight out the door.
Yes.
And there's again, what's happening there? What's
going
on?
Exactly. That's difficult, Father, isn't it?
Do they realize who it is they have just received?
Yes.
Would you do that at a social function? Would you just eat the food and head straight for the door and party's over?
No.
You would never dream it. It would be highly offensive to the person who had organised the dinner or whatever it was. And yet, so sadly, these things happen. Again, it's not everybody and it's not all the time, but these things are certainly worth pointing out. And a couple of messages came in relation to that too. And it is the case that from time to time people will steal sacred hosts with a view to an evil purpose.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember I've mentioned this story before. When I was in Southampton, there was a place nearby called the New Forest, and it was a popular place for kind of hippies and New Agers and probably drugs and all kinds of crazy and even satanic rituals.
Oh my goodness.
And it was known in the diocese that priests were asked to keep on the alert that there would be some of those who come and receive Holy Communion and steal a sacred host in order to go through a satanic ritual, what they call a black mass, to desecrate the sacred host.
Oh my goodness.
And it happens. It's worth being aware of, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is to be found in Ireland somewhere. It wouldn't altogether nowadays, the way things have gone. So again, another good reason to be so careful when it comes to the custody of the Blessed Sacrament. And I remember once the priest, Father McDermott Rowe was his name. This is 20 or 30 years ago now. But somebody came to receive Holy Communion. They walked away with the host, and I remember seeing him running down after this person to make sure that they received the sacred host.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's a difficult thing to try. Like, can you do that all the time? It just makes it really. Anyways, so we priests have a big responsibility, and what I would suggest, again, as good, responsible laypersons, to do all you possibly can to receive the sacrament with the utmost reverence so that others can see and emulate that, and maybe have a quiet word with the parish priest to say, Father, wouldn't it be great from time to time if you just give us a refresher how we should receive the Blessed Sacrament,
That's wonderful, Father.
And
Actually in Mass, well, a couple of months ago now, Father, after Mass, after Holy Communion, I was there and I saw on the seat where I was part of the host, but it wasn't my host now.
Sure.
But so I looked at it and I said, gosh, so I called the priest over.
Good.
And he took it.
Great, very good.
Yeah.
So you see, if you've witnessed to Róisín,
yes.
Many others probably have seen
but I
similar.
thought maybe it was a child or something had it, and you wouldn't know.
That's very charitable, yes, and we hope that's certainly the case. But nonetheless, it is what we would describe as objective sacrilege. So it's an abuse of the Blessed Sacrament. There may be no subjective guilt. It might be ignorance. It might be whatever, an accident. But objectively speaking, this is a terrible thing to have to happen to the Blessed Sacrament. And it's just one of those things. I'm convinced that receiving communion on the hand has led to more of this happening rather than more reverence. It's led to less reverence.
Yes, true.
And all the more reason why everyone listening, watching, you have great love for the real presence of Christ. Do all you can to cultivate that in your own personal disposition towards the Blessed Sacrament. And as I say, teaching others, children, grandchildren, the same. And a little word in the parish priest's ear to say, look, wouldn't it be a good idea if just let us know again, because these things do happen. So it's true that indeed hosts and the consecrated, the devil knows that the Lord is present, and he will certainly want to see desecration taking place, and that these things can happen. So be on the lookout yourself if you see something troubling in that regard in relation to custody of the Holy Eucharist. Well, bring it to the attention of someone who's responsible and who can take some gentle action against that. Another listener actually was in touch and just raising a related point, I suppose, in that the need to be in a state of grace to receive Holy Communion.
Yes.
And he didn't say where, and I don't know what diocese or anywhere, but this saying over the phone that recently my parish priest said that those in a state of mortal sin could receive Holy Communion. Now, the parish priest or any priest or anybody has simply no authority whatsoever to make such a statement. It's simply not the case. Again, it's completely contradictory, because if we think of Holy Communion as a communion with the Lord, we have to be at least on the path of sanctity and free from all deliberate, grave sin to give proper expression to that communion. Yes. Otherwise, it's not. How can it be a communion? It's not communion at all. And we receive to our detriment rather than to our health. So no priest has any authority to say such a thing. Now, that's all I've been given. There's no elaboration on what else may have been said or not said. But the commendation always should be receiving the sacrament of confession first before receiving Holy Communion, if we're conscious of deliberate, grave sin. So it has to be full knowledge, full consent, and grave matter. These are the three requisites for mortal sin. And there can be lots of room for grey, I suppose, but nonetheless, if we're going regularly to confession, we are doing pretty well, I would suggest, to uproot mortal sin and to be in a state of grace insofar as we can. So that's certainly no priest and no body can possibly authorize or advocate that point of view. And you wonder then, if priests are coming out with this kind of stuff, like, where's all their formation gone for a start? And then what's their own personal take and practice on these things? Have they compromised their own faith?
But I'd imagine maybe that wasn't really what the priest would have said, because the priest wouldn't say that, Father.
I would hope not, because that's so patently wrong.
Yes, no. Yeah. So all the priests, they know, they give their whole lives over to God, so they know.
Well, certainly they would have had the formation to know better than to say something like that. And, far better, say, for the priest to say, look, I'll be available for confession before Mass for such time, or after Mass, or here are the confession times. And I think my parishioners anywhere I was were a bit blue in the face from me talking, about confession. And many benefited from me reminding them and making that return that they needed to make. So it's the exact opposite, really. Goodness. So you can see from those messages we've been receiving and just your interaction with us on this particular topic how important it is and how much work and continuous formation needs to be kind of undertaken in relation. And we cannot show enough respect towards the Blessed Sacrament.
Yeah. It's such a joy that you to receive it, Father. You know that the Lord is there with you, so it's not something that you should be terrified about. It's something that you should really love, and always make sure that you're in the right position to do it,
And that it's a sacrament that's meant for the sick. Like, the Church is not a museum of saints, it's a hospital for the sick. And there's none of us who are worthy. Lord, I am not worthy to receive you. Only say the word, my soul shall be healed. That's a given. But if we know there's sort of deliberate sin that needs to be addressed, well, we better work on making ourselves worthy in order to receive him once again. So I hope that helps a little bit for you as you're joining us today and are listening back even. There was another lady texted in there. She was listening back to the repeat last night and is anxious to get the podcast. So we'll put these up as podcasts for you as well, that you can listen back and share them with your friends too. Again, if this sort of analysis and explanation is of use and of help, please do share it with others in the same way. Now, we have a nice little piece of music lined up, and thanks to Moira Vic Aragasa. She's been in touch. I asked her just to clarify for me for our new prayer book the exact translation of Vura na Grace.
Mother of Grace, is it?
Yeah, Mary of Graces. Yes. And the English one we sing sometimes, Oh Mary of Graces and Mother of Christ. And there is a beautiful Irish song version of this by a lady named Róisín.
Oh.
And Róisín Estefari, I think, if I have the name pronounced right. And Maura sent me a link, and there's a couple of versions. I'm going to go with the kind of the recorded version of it, O Mary of Graces, and it's a kind of sean-nós Irish singing.
Yes.
And it is absolutely exquisitely beautiful. It's just, it captures everything of sort of the Irish grá and spiridálta of our love for Our Lady. So again, if you want to get in touch with us, Róisín.
Oh yes, you can telephone 014123456. I think Thomas is there now. He's delighted to hear from you. And if you're outside of Ireland, it's +353 14123456. And you can text or WhatsApp at 089 467 2000. Again, outside of Ireland or the north of Ireland, it's +353 894 67 2000.
Very good. So do call us or do text us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on these topics that we're bringing in. Or indeed you might have other issues that you'd like to mention as well. So now, if you want to leave a comment there on our Facebook and YouTube, please do as well. We'll be happy to hear from you. And Coit now will just play this beautiful piece of music of Within the Cross or Mary of Graces. Thank you, Coit. Now that gorgeous piece of music.
Beautiful.
Thanks very much, Moira, for sending that through. El Safti is the surname of the singer, Róisín El Safti. Beautiful singer indeed. So Goswala Tume, so asking Our Lady of graces to save us from all evil, from all ill, and save us by land and by sea. So thanks, Maura, well done, and good to hear from you as always. Interesting now, again, another little response there. There's a vigil of the Two Hearts in Cork there, and what I'm not sure where it's held there, but they have kneelers in front of the altar, and most, I suppose, all who are able kneel and receive the Blessed Sacrament and take it on the tongue. And again, that's something that's been discouraged with the prevalence of COVID and so on of late. But I think we've probably at this stage moved past that. We kind of have a realization of where we are. I don't know if that particular regulation has been eased deliberately or specifically since. But it's always been the practice pre-COVID anyway for it to be optionally on the tongue or on the hand. My own predisposition is for receiving on the tongue. Because it just simply safeguards, again, some of the areas of ambiguity in relation to reverence. But then it's still, if people want to receive in the hand, I have no difficulty there either. And again, if the obligation is there and the recommendation to receive on the hand, again, I'm not going to rebel against authority, certainly not. That wouldn't be helpful at all, or try to make a statement in that way. But again, I don't think that's my own personal view on that. I don't think it's a great issue in terms of transmission of anything, really. But what it comes down to in the end, without any hesitation, is reverence, reverence, reverence for the Blessed Sacrament. So anything we can do to cultivate reverence, I would suggest, is certainly worth doing. So thanks for that message. It's true. And they're wonderful, devout souls who exercise tremendous reverence as well. It's not all bleak. Wouldn't like to give that picture either. Many people are wonderful in their devotion and reverence towards the Lord. Again, insofar as their physical capacity enables them to be. Do you know, because if you're sick in your bed, obviously there's only so much reverence you're able to manage to there. Anyway, thanks for that. Good to hear from you, and we'll keep that conversation flowing a little bit further as we go along too. Now, I promised to give the Servites a little shout out to Róisín.
Oh.
They're the Servites in Benburb. Were you ever in Benburb Priory?
I don't think so.
Dungannon, County Tyrone. No. So if you're in and around on Sunday evening there, 6 p.m. tomorrow in Glenfecal Hall. It's the hall that's attached to Benburb Priory. Father Ray Kelly is going up to do a little concert.
Oh, lovely.
And he's the man who, of course, was on Britain's Got Talent and all that stuff, and has made a name for himself on the internet. And apparently now he's going around giving these little concerts. And this is a fundraiser at which £15 is the entrance charge there. I think there's tea and coffee, going with the two. And the proceeds are going towards the Servite mission. So they emailed us some time ago. I said I'd give it a shout out. So it's tomorrow at 6. If you're up in Dungannon, in or around Benburb Priory, head over to the Servites at 6 p.m. Father Ray Kelly will be there, and he'll be meeting you and greeting afterwards, it says as well. You know, all this
wonderful
celebrity and popularity, all those things.
That's wonderful.
So thanks for that. So there's an interesting, who handed me this yesterday? Mary Hooton. I didn't ever hear of the Cayley Catholic community.
No, in Westmead. No.
Yes, and who was very much part and parcel of the Cayley Catholic community. I think Father Pat Lynch, is the main priest behind it. But in my own diocese, Father John Keane, who was the priest who replaced me in Macroom so that I could come to Radio Maria.
Right.
He came back from his ministry with Cayley, and they do retreats and all kinds of wonderful things around the country. So we're hoping to connect in with them a little bit if we can, and maybe share a bit of what they do and what they're all about.
Fantastic, Father.
But they do courses aimed at personal, theological and spiritual development of the participants. And I don't think there's especially an age range on that especially. Somebody was in touch with us recently saying, is there anything for kind of middle-aged Catholics that U2000 is sort of 18 to 35 and some of these other groups are they have an age limit that if you're kind of 40 and you walk in the door of one of these things, that
that's it.
you don't sort of feel part of it. So here's a group worth looking up, the Cayley Catholic Community in Kilbeggan, County Westmeath. They have a 9-month residential program of formation in missionary discipleship beginning this September. So if you're interested in faith, theology, spirituality, there's something worth maybe pursuing or inquiring about at least. And as I say, thanks to Mary who gave us this. We'll see can we get them on and chat to us a bit about this. The course is approved and supported by the Bishop of the Diocese of Meath, Reverend Dr. Tom Deenahan, and Cayley is working towards getting a diploma of accreditation from Maynooth University. So anyways, there's just something good that's on. You see, it's great that we hear about all this.
That's wonderful to know that, Father. I never heard tell of it before. That's wonderful.
And they've been doing great work with young people and in schools and travelling around the place with people, and I think in the community itself. So I will give you a bit more on that as time goes on as well. So they're my two little shout-outs. I don't think I had any other particular shout-outs there to give. I might just mention there's a leaflet. I don't know if it's been published. He did say it was in draft form that Raffaele sent us. It's an annual report for 2021 of the World Family of Radio Maria.
Gosh.
Giving a voice to the voiceless, it says. And just some pretty amazing statistics. I'll hold up to the camera here so you see it's a big wide spread of a 4-page leaflet.
Details.
And it's done in English, and it's something that we would certainly be happy to reproduce here and share with our listeners too. But Radio Maria in the world, 82 countries, 90 associations and 29 substations in local languages. So that's how they can say there's nearly 120 Radio Maria stations. But in a place like Democratic Republic of Congo, apparently there's 4 or 5 different radios, because it's a massive country.
Of course
and
it is.
different languages. So an association like you're in our association here, Róisín, so that if you might have an association but not yet have a radio, which we had that for about 10 or 15 years. So there's 90 associations, so there's that many, but 82 countries, and I think about 85 radio stations altogether. And all the statistics, they've got 630 mobile studios, which are out and about in various parishes and communities all over the place, and 700 million people are able to receive the Radio Maria signal all over the world. I suppose you could nearly say the whole world population if it comes to the internet.
That's fantastic.
Anyway, it gives there's 9 countries in Asia, 27 in Africa, 26 in Europe, and 20 countries in the Americas, all of which have Radio Maria. So very interesting, and just something about the financial resources as well, and the contributions that are necessary to keep everything running. Some of our numbers. So it's a nice little informative little thing about the history and mission identity of Radio Maria, and a little thank you as well. We hope we get that printed and send it out to people.
Send it out, exactly.
So lots of interesting things, and lots of things to chat about, and great potential still even going forward. Now, our time has gone, Róisín.
Flies by, Father.
Yes, it does. We never get much of a chance. So thank you for your company. Thank you for watching in and listening in here at Radio Maria. We're going to take our leave, of course, of the camera, as we do. And because it's 12 o'clock now, it's time to pause for our Angelus and our midday prayer.